Hey guys, so I wanted to talk to you about something that happened at occupational therapy yesterday. So I actually had both occupational and physical therapy yesterday, and I think I may have talked about this in a previous video, but it is so important to me that I have some sort of connection with the people that I work with in both occupational and physical therapy because I feel like I get so much more out of my therapies or my therapy sessions when I have some sort of connection with the therapist or therapy assistant that I'm working with. And so yesterday, I felt like I didn't really get much out of my therapy session as far as occupational therapy, just because of the person who was doing the occupational therapy. So, for one, I had never worked with this person before. It was an older man, and he was just very rough with me, and not like in an abusive way, but he was more like drill sergeant, and I don't like that. Like, I believe I've mentioned this before in previous videos that like there has to be some sort of sense of humor, some sort of, connection, like I said. And as far as the sense of humor goes, I feel like I am someone who needs people who have a sense of humor because my normal occupational therapist that I work with does have a sense of humor. My normal physical therapist that I work with also has a sense of humor, and I feel like it makes me work harder, and it also like it makes the time go by quicker for me because it's very hard for me to stay focused for the length of time that I'm doing therapies because until the week after next, um, I am not doing any co-treatments, but starting the day before Valentine's Day, I will be doing co-treatments. So that means my occupational therapy and my physical therapy will be at the same time, except for reassessments for insurance purposes. And so it's just stuff that I'm looking forward to because it'll allow me to work on my hand and my leg at the same time. And so I was just not happy with how yesterday went, and I kind of honestly want to ask if I can like be put with anybody else other than this therapist assistant, because even when he taped my arm yesterday, like obviously you can see there's no tape left because he didn't do it right, and it came off like by the time I was coming home it was already peeling off. And the last time that my regular occupational therapist um taped me, like it was on there. It was not coming off. And like even just pulling it off was painful because it was stuck that well to my arm. But like he was, pushing down on it. And I do have pain in this shoulder because this is my weak shoulder. This is the one that the brace is for. And I believe I've talked about this in a previous video as well. We had discussed not wearing the brace. They wanted to do KT tape for support. Um, and so I kind of want, my fiance to go and learn how to do the KT tape because at this point, I don't think I'd be able to do it myself because it goes on the back of my shoulder as well for support, like I said. But yeah, it's supposed to last at least 2 days, and it came off by the time I was home, which really sucks because now I feel like I don't have the support that I need for that shoulder. So I may end up putting my brace on for a little bit today, even though my therapists don't really want me to have the brace on. I feel like I need that support, so we're gonna have to see like what happens there, but regardless, it is what it is. um I don't feel like yesterday's occupational therapy session was very good. We were supposed to be working on wheelchair transfers and standing endurance and things like that, and instead he acted like a drill sergeant and was having me like stand up and then sit down and then stand up and then sit down and then stand up and then sit down, even after he had told me that we were going to work on wheelchair transfers. Like he literally told me to put my hand on my wheelchair like armrest and then stand up and then sit back down and then stand up and then sit back down. To me, that's not a wheelchair transfer. That's standing and then sitting, which was good for my thighs because my thighs definitely got to work out. But it wasn't, to me, it was not practicing wheelchair transfers because Any other time that I've worked with an occupational therapist or an occupational therapy assistant, like when we are working on wheelchair transfers, they're having me transfer from the wheelchair to another chair, from the chair back to the wheelchair, if that makes sense. So it's not like wheelchair to wheelchair, it's like wheelchair to a stationary chair, and then from that stationary chair back to the wheelchair. And like he kept asking me these questions about, well, why can't you move your wrist? Why can't you move your elbow? Why can't you move your shoulder? I have not regained function in this shoulder or the elbow. And I've just recently started getting some movement, like to side in my right wrist, and it's not a whole lot. I do have movement in all five fingers or digits on my right hand, but it's very light. And so, like, I'm trying my best, and I felt like he was almost using an accusatory tone, which I did not like because, again, it's not helpful or productive to me to use that kind of tone with me, which is why I said, like, I need somebody who has a sense of humor, who's going to make it go by quicker, who's going to, like, talk to me with some sort of respect, and understand where I'm coming from, even if they haven't been through these things themselves. Just being more understanding and have that sense of humor, that's what I need. And so I was very frustrated that that was how yesterday's session went. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to share that with you guys. And if any of you guys have gone through occupational or physical therapy in the past, have you had a similar sort of situation or the same situation? I'm just curious to see what you have done about it, if you have. And also, if you guys haven't, what would you do in this type of situation? Would you speak up for yourself and ask to not work with that person again? Because I don't work with him for a long length of time. Like I think I work with him again in like a month and a half, but I don't, work with him on a regular basis, which is good because I would not want to. But thankfully, like my next appointment, which is on Thursday of this week, not tomorrow, tomorrow's Wednesday, and I actually have an appointment with the neurologist. So, yeah, I don't have therapies tomorrow, but I do have therapies on Thursday. So we shall see. I'm working with my regular occupational therapist tomorrow, so I may mention to her that, like, I was not happy with how therapy went and see what she thinks about, telling them that I don't want to work with him. So we shall see what she says. But anyways, that is it for today's video. Let me know what you guys think. And yeah, I will talk to you guys in my next video.